deployment of anti-missile systems is in South Korea's best interest. Our sole contention is de-escalation. Mazarov of the Natalis Institute in 2014 writes that the principal purpose of North Korea's nuclear weapons program is to ensure the favorable environment for regime survival and national development by first, deterring external threats against the country's sovereignty, and second, freeing internal resources for economic growth. The North Korean government emphasizes the critical role of nuclear weapons in its national security by putting them in the center of its campaign to prevent war. Thus, North Korea's nuclear development is limited to national defense, not aggression. Outmatched by the U.S. military's vast conventional superiority, the North Korean regime sees nuclear weapons as the only way to balance the scales. According to Fifield at the Washington Post in 2017, North Korea has used its emerging weapons capability as a deterrent, betting that it can threaten nuclear retaliation on South Korea so the U.S. will not take a risk of striking. In Kim Jong-un's mind, deterrence is the only way to keep his country safe. Missile defense, however, undermines his sense of nuclear security. Edizzoni at George Washington University in 2017 explains that the logic of nuclear deterrence presumes that making any major strike is virtually suicidal. However, if one nuclear power can prevent a retaliatory strike by using an anti-missile defense system, mutually assured destruction is no longer assured, and the deterrence effect completely breaks down. In response to these destabilizing effects of missile defense, North Korea is taking two major steps. First, they're acting out. Without a credible nuclear deterrent, North Korea becomes forced to act out more aggressively to demonstrate that it is still a viable threat to America. McCohen at the American Security Project in 2017 notes that North Korea, in reaction to the deployment of missile defenses, has continued to escalate its missile testing as self-defense against the U.S.'s provocative actions. While this behavior is somewhat characteristic of North Korea, the frequency of testing is unprecedented. Second, they're going to try to level the playing field. In order to restore the balance, the North has tried to develop missiles that can get around missile defense. According to the ISDP in 2016, North Korea has viewed the decision to deploy missile defense as both a provocation and a direct act of aggression. The response has been to continue missile development and invest in new technologies that can bypass missile defense systems. These new missiles nullify missile defense. Min Jae-young at the Ajan Forum in 2017 writes that new technological advances mean that Pyongyang is now able to fire missiles without being detected. This makes South Korea's missile defense effectively useless. North Korea's escalation in reaction to missile defense has pushed South Korea to militarize. Reuters in 2017 reports that the escalating threat arising from a nuclear-armed North's recent strikes of missile tests is prompting South Korea to beef up its military muscle by allowing Seoul to build more powerful missiles and to build a nuclear-powered submarine. In such a state of heightened tensions, where all parties feel threatened and are rapidly militarizing, this creates a hair trigger scenario where the outbreak of war is extremely likely. Goldman at the CBC in 2017 explains that there remains the threat of a miscalculation, that amplified rhetoric, a military mistake, or the misinterpretation of an action could snowball into something much larger. And he says that if it's going to happen, chances are it's going to happen in this heightened state. BMDs only increase the chance of war. Lee at Bond University in 2016 explains that missile defense systems increase the risk of an inter-Korean war once again. Although more specifically to South Korea, Osnos at the New Yorker writes last week that the past 6 months, the enmity has reached a level rarely seen since the end of the Korean War. The only way out of the current crisis is de-escalation, as Benjamin concludes that the question is how to best de-escalate the conflict so it does not explode into a war, but adding another weapon system to the mix is clearly not the answer, which is why we're very proud to negate.
If we see Lee, missile defense increases the chance of war.
And also Edizzoni, who tells me that North Korea is going to perceive it as taking a missile control.
Yeah.